That's a lot of money.
Okay, I didn't realize we were gonna get this intense, Miss Pamela.
Hey, James, I'm looking at you. Hi. So I've made the executive decision to interrupt my normal planned content to do another reading vlog. And this one I am dedicating exclusively to one book, and that is Pam Godwin's new release, Hill of Shiver and Shadow, something like that. I have been looking forward to this release so much, but I also noticed a lot of things about this release where I was like, I have a feeling that there's going to be some people on the fence. So I wanted to just dedicate some time to read a book that I'm excited about, but two, also help you out, let you know if it's worth it or not, because this book isn't available through your KU subscription, so it's published wide. It's on the pricier side for an indie book. It's still less than a traditionally published book, so it's not like crazy expensive, but I know it's going to catch some people off guard because I think it's like $8.99 USD. So it's on the pricier side for an indie book when you consider most of them are like $4.99 to like $6.99, and it's a 700-page book. You don't even get your HEA at the end of this one because it's the first in a series, and the series is going to be incomplete. I saw all those things and I was like, hardcore dedicated, like Pam Godwin stan. I don't think I've ever rated a Pam Godwin book under 4 stars, but also I was like, I have a feeling there's going to be some people that have some apprehension about picking this book up. So I just want to help you out a little bit. She writes dark romance in a way that is completely her own. There's nothing that I feel like is very tropey about her writing. She has a story and characters in mind, and she just weaves these complex and complicated stories and complicated characters. She doesn't write things to be dark. The stories she wants to tell happen to be dark. Hopefully that makes any sense. Let's get to what I know about this book. I have kind of actively avoided learning too much about the plot of this book. I just wanted to like sink into this and enjoy all 700 plus pages. From what I understand, at least part of it takes place in Alaska. I'm imagining that it's pretty isolated in general. I know that there's a captive element that is already set up in the prologue, and I know that it's going to be why choose. I'm assuming that it's kind of introduced initially in this book and then kind of builds throughout. I have heard because of all of those elements that it does give pretty intense Credence vibes. I haven't read Credence, so I don't have any frame of reference for that, but it is a book that I do want to read. Oh, Kevin came to join us. That's kind of what I know. That's our general lay of the land here. I have read the prologue this morning. Really all it did was confirm some of the things that I already knew about the book in general, but it does kind of start off pretty dark. So I think it's gonna be a darker one. But I have the whole evening to myself, which I'm so excited about. My husband is going to be at a hockey game, so I am going to see how much of this I can get read. What you gotta say for yourself? I'm gonna go get reading and let you know what I'm thinking. I can almost guarantee the next version of me that you're gonna see is gonna be, don't look a little rough. You've been warned. See you soon. All right, well, we've got some weird lighting because it's now the next morning. I was going to try and update you last night, but I watched the footage back and your girl was not making a lick of sense. I am about 30% in what we've got, the lay of the land. We have Frankie. She is our resident ginger. She is an ER nurse, so she's got some medical training, and she's really into running. Her husband is older than her and very, very rich. Also a massive asshole. She, in the opening chapters, will tell you 7 ways to Sunday that she loves him, but this dude sucks so hard. Basically, the prologue ends up following Denver, who is one of the men in this book. He is the captor. So Denver is described as looking like Brad Pitt. And I'll be honest, I love Brad Pitt as much as the next gal, but that kind of threw me out of the story. But it did cause me to fan cast the rest of the guys, so stay tuned for that. Prologue follows him getting into her house and getting ready to snatch her. When the chapter 1 opens, what we're getting is her kind of going through her day leading up to when she's kidnapped. She ends up having an argument with her husband, which kind of ends up being like the perfect setup for the kidnapping, because then he can make it look like she just left on her own. As a side note, part of the reason I think her husband sucks so bad is because the argument that they're having is an argument that my friend had with her ex-husband. They're not married anymore. So I'm just saying, but I mean, I get it. Do it for the money. I mean, not really. She says that she loves him. But like, this dude's so loaded. 10-mile run on a private island. 10 miles. That's a lot of money. I digress. Denver takes her captive and yoinks her Taken style into the bush of Alaska. He's got a pretty fancy setup, it seems like. He brings her to a cabin where his boys reside. Yes, I said boys. I don't think we're gonna get sword crossing in this. We have Wolfson, who is described as being pretty man-pretty. He's very eccentric. Like, he draws on his skin with Sharpie, and he's like wearing feather boas and like random stuff around, but he seems kind of eccentric. So I am always picturing him as Klaus from Umbrella Academy. Next oldest, our middle kid. He's the gruntiest. He seems to be the largest, and he's described as having black hair that's short and wavy and tan skin, and also seems to be daddy's favorite. For Kodiak, Alcid from True Blood. And then we have Leonid. I should have looked up how to say this. Leonid? That sounds like an illness. So I'm not convinced I'm saying that right. I guess we'll find out later. He is described as looking like a Viking. He's got like complicated braided hair. So I thought of Rollo from the TV show Vikings. I know technically he doesn't have braided hair, but like the heart wants what the heart wants. I have such a big crush on that man. Anyway, that's a different issue. So like the first, I don't know, like maybe like 15-20% was so jam-packed because we're like getting snatched, and then we're like getting to the cabin, and then we're getting the lay of the land at the cabin, trying to figure out the family dynamics. The family dynamics seem to be pretty toxic from what I can tell. It's sort of like that like underlying sinister feel. There's not a ton to confirm my suspicions just yet, but like there's been a few things where I'm like, But it's kind of interesting because this hostage situation, because they're in the middle of the nowhere and there's no access to outside resources, Frankie's kind of like captive without being captive. So she has a lot more movement than most captives would have, which has been nice. Things are starting to slow down. We have a little bit of a mystery kind of going on because he snatched her for a reason and Frankie can't figure out why. She's trying to figure out information and she is slowly getting bits, but the guys are very resistant to giving her any. It's been both like intriguing and also frustrating because I'm just like, just give me some answers. What does he want? What do you want? Frankie's also really interesting. She does have her woe is me moments, and she has her moments where she's just kind of like, she has a pretty traumatic thing happen beyond just like the captured situation, but she's constantly thinking of ways to like escape, and she's getting increasingly more sophisticated as she learns from her previous mistakes. Two things that I think are so interesting. One, this is the second book I've read this month where one of the main characters' name is Frankie. The other book I'm reading is These Thin Lines by Milena McKay. Also, I read another book by Milena McKay that had heterochromia, and this book has heterochromia. One of the sons has two different colored eyes. So just weird coincidences with that has no bearing on the actual plot or the book or my enjoyment of it. I still don't know what to think. I'm intrigued by like what's going on. I'm not particularly invested in any of the guys at all. We get their perspectives. We do get like a little bit more information, but they're secret keeping even from themselves in their own brains, thus keeping secrets from us. I'm gonna start work now, so I will update you hopefully tonight. Hopefully I'll be able to read this evening as well and get a good chunk more done. I will see you soon. Hi, so we are now 60% in. Well, I'm 60% in. I will warn you, my facial expression and my emotions may come off a little bit flatter than normal. I'm in a lot of pain right now.
Oh, wow. I just dropped that and made it sound way more dire than it is. I had a very, very minor medical procedure done. It's not that big of a deal at all, but wow, the way I said it made it sound way worse. I promise I'm fine.
So I still wanted to update you though, because so much has changed since I last talked to you. And I want to read more because it's the only thing distracting me from my discomfort. Oh, and you can see my takeout in the background. I want to go eat that too. Let's hop to it. So much has happened. So at the beginning, we had all the action of her getting taken. We had a lull after that. And it was a lull where you're still slowly getting information. The guys are withholding information for a certain reason. Frankie's very strategic. She's thinking this stuff through, and she is working to manipulate the guys. She's paying attention to all the little things. This gal's playing 5D chess in her head. And once again, she does have those moments that feel very human. Is it worth trying to fight to get out? Or does she just try and end it all? Like, there is a lot of back and forth, so it does get really dark kind of with her mental state. During this time, I really was like feeling a little bit, not bored, but I was kind of getting lulled into this feeling of like, we're not going to get that many answers. And then slowly over time, I realized a couple of things. One, I can tell the guys apart very easily from their voice, from how they act. I have no problem telling these guys apart. I even made a sticky note preparing myself to not be able to tell these guys apart, and I'm having no problem whatsoever. So a testament to Pam's writing. And I also was a little bit leery of them as like love interests in general, and especially with why choose. I'm like, why do all these dudes want this gal? In this this case, I'm like, definitely makes sense. They're all isolated. Of course they want the only tits on legs that's walking around. That makes sense. For her, I was like, okay, it makes a little bit less sense. I mean, they are described as very hot, so that helps. But you slowly get this building tension as you get to learn the guys and their flaws and their traumas. They kind of have this feral, rough feel to them because they aren't obviously well socialized. You slowly are getting the softer bits of them. You get to see that through Frankie's perspective and how that's kind of impacting her, especially because she relates so much. She's been through a lot here. So slowly the guys are kind of winning me over, and it was like to a point that I didn't even really notice it. And then now I'm like, no, I get it. Although at times you're like, this is a lull, I think it was still effectively used. It just wasn't used for plot as much. Although there's lots of little things that the guys are saying, hints that they're dropping without saying anything fully. And then when you get the reveal, then it's like, oh, dang, there was hints dropped all the way along. I thought that twist was so dark, but also really effectively plotted out. I had to go to work after reading all this twisty business. I was still just like reeling because it went from like, I don't get what all the hubbub is about to going, oh damn. Twists to me don't make the book, but I think this is really just like showcasing Miss Pamela's excellent plotting. Oh my goodness. I have a feeling that now things are gonna really pick up because I had a hard time stopping to go to work today because it was literally just like, and another thing. I am going to call it there because I am in so much pain. So I am going to sit on the couch and read because it's the only thing that's distracting me right now. I'm hoping to finish this bad boy sometime tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Honestly, I've been laid up so much the past couple of days that it wouldn't surprise me. But we'll see. All right, talk to y'all soon. Bye. Dun dun dun. Breaking news. One, Kevin is now sharing my water, so that's a thing that we're having to deal with. Also, we do need to recast Cody because I cast him as a white man, and I think he might be an Alaskan native. So, my recast for Cody, Martin Sensmeyer. I feel good about this recast. Actually, I think this is better than my original cast. Like, let's be honest. For the 4 people that watched La Brea with me, you can appreciate him. I know I thought I was going to read more before, but I had to take a little break because, I don't know, life gets in the way. Life is like that sometimes. See you soon.
Okay, I didn't realize we were going to get this intense, Miss Pamela. I'm a little scared right now, and not scared in a way that I thought I would be. There was some physically dark things. This is just scary. I don't know how to tell you anything about what's going on right now without giving anything away, but it's scary, and I don't like it. That's all.
Hi. Ooh. Every time I get on camera with my wavy hair, I have some regrets about it. You know what? This is not the time or place to have this identity crisis. Let's talk about Hills of Shivers and Shadows. I have now finished. Classic Pamela, she once again has woven tricky circumstances in where even though it's like a dark romance, there's no like one person you can kill. There's no running away and solving everything because she has made these circumstances so tightly woven that you're kind of like, Miss Pamela, how are you going to undo this knot? And she does this with so many of her books. And I think part of it, she just posted something today or yesterday that was like, I don't write for the market, I write for the story. And I think that shows through in her writing. I think the why choose relationships are handled in a way that I personally like. I think if you really like some of the tropiness that comes with certain why choose, you might find it lacking a little bit here just because they're not getting the typical like group of guys in the way that you might be used to in like a Tate James book, for example. It is interesting too because there is so much trauma bonding. You can see why they all deeply care about each other, but there is a unevenness with the way the relationships are being developed. And I don't say that as like a negative thing. I actually mean that in a positive way. We're not having all 3 relationships on the same timeline, and you're not having equal romantic interest in each of the guys. In my eyes, seems more realistic or more normal, especially when you are talking about a bunch of guys that have not had relationships prior to this. They've been raised in the middle of Alaska, like with no contact from other people. I appreciate that she isn't like down to clown with everybody. Frankie, our heroine, has more interest in certain guys than she does in others. And I'm just like, that seems, I was gonna say normal, as if I have any real world experience with polyamory. But hopefully you get what I'm saying. It feels more realistic than sometimes the circumstances of a lot of other why choose, where it's just like the whole band and me all fell in love at the same time. Okay, James, I'm looking at you. It is very dark. The natural harshness of the landscape that they are operating in adds to like the brutality and the direness of the circumstances. There's this heightened sense of life and death throughout the book. You don't know if characters are going to make it or not. I think that just adds this extra layer of darkness because you already have this kind of like psychologically dark, there's something hanky kind of going on. And then you have the brutality of just like life in the wilderness. And that really just adds another dimension. But I don't know. I'm very intrigued by Frankie. She's such a capable person. She's so adaptable. Even in these circumstances where she doesn't have a ton of control, she actually fights for what she can control. In circumstances where she is so despondent, which I think is normal and natural, and yet there's such a tenacity to her, I think just really makes her feel realistic. I know that I keep saying that, but I think because there is a lack of tropiness, there is a sense of more realisticness. Does that make any sense? Because I'm like, tropiness can kind of create this like sense of fictionalness to the book. Am I making any sense? I really hope so. But I just feel like the circumstances, the characters, everything that was crafted here is much more complex. There's a number of different twists and turns with the plot. So although it's long, I do feel like there's enough to keep your attention. And the places where there's lulls, definitely pay attention to the character development. So I am going back and forth on my rating. I'm somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5 star on this one. I might sit on it more and change my mind, and I reserve the right to do so. I think if you are looking for a dark read, you're ready to just kind of get invested and you're along for the ride, because this is going to be a few more books, because there's some stuff going on. There's a whole other web of network of information that we have yet to tap the surface of, and I'm excited to get into all of that. Is it long? Yes. Do I think it's necessary? Also, yes. If you've been on the fence, I would definitely recommend picking it up, and hopefully some of this video helped with all of that. If you have read this, I would love to chat with you about this book in the comments. Let me know if this was helpful, if you want me to do more videos like this where I'm just focused on one book, especially some longer books, help you make a little bit more of a decision about maybe whether or not you want to dive into it. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, so I am going to let you go. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want more content from me, and I really hope that I see you on my next video. Bye-bye!